Hi, Minna Vener. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Singer Dad Reacts. My name is Josh. Thank you for your patience in waiting for another Aurora reaction. If you've watched my first reaction to her, where she sang Through the Eyes of the Child live at the Nidarosdomen cathedral there, which was just a beautiful setting. It was a very touching performance, and as many of you watched and saw, it really got to me. But many of you said that your favorite performance of this song that she's given is this Vevo stripped performance, and so that's the one I'm going to be reacting to today. So I'm going to jump right in here. For those of you that are unfamiliar with my channel, what I do is I spend time going through the lyrics and talking about the message of the song and what I feel like the story arc and the main meaning behind the song is leading up to the performance. And I feel like this just really helps me to better appreciate and understand what the artist is trying to communicate and allows for a deeper reaction on my part. So if you're not into that, feel free to skip ahead to my reaction. For those that are, let me bring it up here. So obviously Through the Eyes of the Child by Aurora. This is from her debut studio album, All My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend. The lyrics are, world is covered by our trails, scars we cover up with paint. Watch them preach in sour lies. I would rather see the world through the eyes of a child. Through the eyes of a child. Darker times will come and go, times you need to see her smile. And mothers' hearts are warm and mild. I would rather feel this world through the skin of a child. Through the skin of a child. When a human strokes your skin, that is when you let them in. Let them in before they go. I would rather feel alive with a childlike soul. With a childlike soul. And then this section here where she's doing the hails and everything, I won't spoil it at this point in the reaction if you haven't watched my original reaction to the other performance. When I get to this part of the song for this performance, I'll talk about what some of my thoughts are around what this vocalization and what she does here means. And then she ends the song with, please don't leave me here. The other thing I did, and I kind of went over this the last time in my first reaction, but for those that haven't watched that, I found this quote from Aurora where she talks about this song and what it means to her. And she said, I care a lot about people's inner child, and I am very determined to never lose my inner child. It's about the older you get, the more you see. And it's kind of like you miss the times when you thought everyone was nice and that everything was nice, because it's hard to know all the darkness. Also, we have lots of light, and I know that as well. But it's kind of like wanting to go back to the innocence and see the world through the eyes of a child. So she's very grounded. I can tell just from watching interviews with her, from this quote and the wisdom that she has at such an early age, and she's not that old. The fact that she understands this to this level about kind of there's darkness, but we have light, and we should echo back to the innocence of childhood and try to see the world through the eyes of a child. That's profound and something we all need to remember and strive for, because there's so much negativity and hostility and fighting going on in the world. We need to just come together as children. Some of my favorite videos to watch on social media and stuff like that are just like where two kids come together and they play. They can be different races, different ethnicities, different, from different parts of the world, from different types of families. They don't really care. They're there to play and be friends. And that message just resonates. And so I'm excited to see this performance of the song and to see why all of you recommended it so highly. If you are new to my channel, or if you haven't already, if you could please click on the subscribe down below and click on the notification bell to be notified of any of my new reactions. I'm going to be doing 2 or 3 here in this sitting and then posting those within the next week or so. So I think that's the easiest way for me to do multiple reactions, is to do multiple reactions in a sitting and then just edit them and post them later, instead of trying to do an individual reaction at a time one evening and then try to do another one at a different time. This will help, I think, with my schedule and making sure I get more videos out. So thank you again for your patience. Here we go.
World is covered by your trails, scars we cover up with pain. Watch them preach in our lives. I would rather see the world through the eyes of a child, through the eyes of a child. Darker times will come and go.
Wow. Sorry, I paused it in a weird spot. My keyboard wasn't working there to pause it. What she's doing right here as a vocalist is very difficult. And you've probably heard other vocal coaches and people like that talk about it. But when you start a song off a cappella and it's just you, and you've got to, like, I don't know if she had someone play the pitch before or how she found her starting pitch or whatever, but even if you have that provided, the starting pitch, it's still daunting to start a song off live like that a cappella. And it puts you on the spot because you have to be on pitch. You don't have an instrument accompanying you to help you kind of stay on pitch and know the notes and all of that. So that's very impressive as a fellow artist looking in on this and seeing what she's doing here. And of course, she just has this sincerity and this genuine nature about her that just resonates throughout her being. It's just phenomenal. Quick funny story on starting pitches. So I sang in a quartet in California when I lived there for about 10 years, and I sang lead. And we were asked to sing for one of our church services, and there was a gentleman that was going to be playing the violin. So the violin was supposed to give us our starting pitch. Well, somehow there was something lost in translation in this giving the starting note to the violinist. Excuse me. So he proceeds to play what we thought was the starting note. When I heard him play that note and I sang on that note, I'm like, this is higher. Well, we were singing a song that was already like pretty high, like toward the top of my range. And so when we ended up at the high part of the song, we were like 2 or 3 notes above where we normally would have been. And it was already like that part was already at the top of my chest voice pretty much. So I'm like going in and out of my head voice through that section, hitting these notes. And it was just like, wow, okay. That was a little vocal exercise, unexpected one. So anyway, when you perform, these things happen. So you just kind of have to roll with it. But yeah, she's amazing. I'm not sure why my keyboard's not.
Darker times will come and go.
I love the harmonies.
Times you
She mixed that up from her last performance a little bit.
And mother's hands are warm in mine.
Oh, I like that.
I would rather feel the world through the
Look at her hands.
skin of a child, through the skin of a child.
It's almost like she has a part of herself that she can still see or that she's holding on to, and she can kind of transition into that mindset of a child, because when she's doing this stuff here, I mean, that's very childlike, because child's like the senses are so fresh and new to them, and so they, they're always looking to touch things, put things in their mouth, and see things, new things, and experience things, right? So she is tapping into that. And I don't know if she's got a child in her life that she watches and or she's a very observant person and kind of watches children play or whatever, but she's very in tune with how children experience the world. And that's really cool. I have some news happening with me where I'm going to be a grandpa. Probably next month. The due date's the end of March. Going to have a little grandson. So my wife and I are super excited to have what I call littles, back in the equation and be able to have a grandchild and spend some time with children again. So yeah, it's very relevant to me right now as far as all of this talk about children. But yeah, she's definitely in tune with her inner child, for sure.
Of a child, through the skin of a child.
See how she's lingering on that child? That
when a human strokes your skin,
again with the hands, it's just.
and that is when you let them in. Let them in before they go. I would rather feel alive with a childlike soul.
Notice at the start of the phrase, they just had her and then the female voice singing together. And then they brought the bass and the other parts to fill it in after that first part of the phrase. So again, textures, layers, and the harmonies are very Aurora-esque, if there is such a word. They're very lilting and light, that make it uniquely hers and sound like her. But she's mesmerizing. Mesmerizing. It's the only word I can think of.
I would rather feel alive with a childlike soul.
When they come in.
With a childlike soul.
It's almost like she's looking up at a child. Did you see that last part where she was kind of like, it's almost like she was visualizing. And here's where I'll talk a little bit about my theory about this if you didn't watch my other reaction. It was more clear to me on the other performance. And I liked this section of the song in the other performance. I have to be honest there. Without the harmonies, it was more just kind of It's ironic that I'm going to say stripped out, but this one is stripped of instruments, but it's got the harmonies in there during that part. Because she had her eyes closed and she was just, and my theory about that, what came to me is that she was basically just channeling her inner child, because when our boys were young, we have 4 boys, when our boys were young, especially I'm thinking of our youngest, he would just dance and he was just free and he didn't really care what he was doing, and he would just, move his arms and do all this stuff. And that's kind of what it brought to me, is that she was just vocalizing and just kind of being free with her body movements. And so that's my interpretation for this section of the song. But I must say I do like this portion of the song in the other performance, but it's still just amazing. It's almost like a desk cant up above there. That's beautiful. She's closing her eyes now. There's something else that's standing out to me right now with the way she's performing this. It's almost like there was like an urgency or a desperation or a pleading in her eyes there just now when she was looking out. And then her hands like this. It's almost like her body language is saying, I'm desperately trying to reach out and bring in that inner child and hold on to it and not let it go, so that I can continue to see the light in the world around me and not allow the darkness to overtake me. Some of you commented on my first reaction that when she was a teenager, she had some really traumatic things happen to her, and some of her friends were killed, and so she had a lot of that darkness, I'm sure, threatening to creep in. And I wonder if that's part of what brought this, song on, and what, really fuels the feelings behind this song when she sings it. But yeah, that just came to me. She kind of had like this angst, this like longing, this pleading for, please don't leave me, that inner child. That's just what it seemed to me like. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Watch when she first opens her eyes right here. See her eyebrows and her expression? And now she's reaching out. Right here. And then bring your arms back in to say, come to me. Stay with me. That takes control.
Please don't leave me here.
Yeah, that was... She has something special for sure. There's just something about her that is so genuine. She connects with the audience, whether that's the people that are there live or those watching a video, in just a remarkable way, because there's something so honest and from her heart that she is bringing to the performance. She feels the lyrics. She feels it from her soul. And that comes through in her body language and her expressions. Her face is super expressive, and in her voice as well. And I didn't really talk a ton about her vocals, but she has a solid vocal instrument. I mean, there were several things she did in that song which are really difficult, like with breath control, and her pitch was excellent. And I talked about this last time, how she's able to kind of flip between her chest and her head voice when she kind of has some falsetto. She does a lot of kind of what you would call falsetto. So falsetto is kind of a part of your head voice that's lighter, and kind of like, fairy-like, if you will, and kind of super lilting and light. So there's different aspects of the head voice. So if you've watched any of my Sohyung reactions, I talk a lot about head voice, but also the mix. So with Sohyung, she's bringing her chest voice up into her head voice and mixing that in to create a lot more, girth to her sound, more mass, and power behind the sound, right? Whereas with Aurora, she kind of uses more of that traditional head voice, more kind of the falsetto, a lighter head voice. And I also have to give props to the backup vocals, the people singing behind her. I've done some of that, singing backup vocals. I've sung in choirs, as I mentioned, in a quartet and things like that. So I appreciate the work that goes in to sing backup and to do things like that. And it's very important to the performance. So they did a great job. I love the performance. I love Aurora. She is something special, and I understand why all of you devout Aurora fans love her so much. And again, I apologize. It's been so long since I've done another Aurora reaction. I'll try to do better about not making it this long before I do another one. If you have recommendations as to which performances you want me to react to that she's done, please put those down in the comments. If you can give me any context around this performance and more information, because I'm sure many of you have that information because you've done a ton of research, and I'm always looking forward to learning more, and I enjoy interacting with each of you. So thank you for your support of my channel. I will end my reaction, as I do with all of them, by reaching out across the world to each of you to let you know that you are special, you are loved, and you can accomplish your dreams. And I hope that each of you has supportive people in your life that are helping you to be happy and help you to reach into that inner child and look for the light around you, and to be happy and genuine, and that you can have enjoyment of the small things in your life and the treasures that come each day that we may not notice. A lot of it's about perspective, right? We can look at things from a negative point of view, but we can also look for the good and find good in the things happening to us and the things that can come in the future. So I hope that you can find that in your lives, and that this channel in some small way can bring you happiness and light your world. Just like Aurora said, the way that we can have light in our lives as we look through the eyes of a child. So again, thank you all so much for your support, and take care.